Hello, everyone. Welcome to the very first episode of Get Hired. I am Shafali and I have with me here Mr. Alok Kumar, who is a speaker, corporate trainer, NLP practitioner, and English and IAS coach. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you very much.
I'm really excited to be part of this series and to talk to you, sir. As we know, the name of this podcast is Get Hired, and we will be covering a whole bunch of topics from interview techniques, language skills, and soft skills. What do you think we should start with today?
Well, your podcast is called Get Hired. So I think let's start with interview techniques. Okay. And I must emphasize over here that learning interview technique is very important because it's a passport to a good job.
Right, absolutely. It's a very dynamic concept, I would say. It's
Yes.
changing every now and then,
Right.
definitely. All right. So having said that, I would like to share an experience with you. So I have two friends. Let's name them Neha and Saloni. All right. So Saloni is a very bright student. She gets straight A's. However, Neha, let's say she's a mediocre student. Okay. Now they've both gone to the same interview, and as it happens, Saloni, being the bright student that she is, she was not able to secure the job, but Neha immediately cracked the interview. I don't understand exactly what happened here. How did Neha crack the interview while Saloni was not able to?
I really appreciate you for bringing up this topic. Understand that there is nothing unusual about it. Many times, bright students don't crack interview, and the students who have average track record do very well. Before I get into the dynamics of interview, let's understand the distinction between the university examination and the interview. In the university examination, you write answers to given questions. The quality of written answers determine your results. However, and this is very important, note it down, hear me carefully. In the interview, you are assessed on your personality, presence of mind, common sense, communication skills, attitude, confidence, etiquettes, and manners.
All right. So, like what we used to do, रट रट के हम लोग जब लिखते थे.
Right.
So that's
Yes.
different. That's different.
That's
I
it,
mean,
yeah.
उसमें तो marks चलो आ ही जाते थे,
जाते थे.
but not in this case. इसमें थोड़ा सा अपना खुद का दिमाग लगाना पड़ेगा.
Yes, that's
All
right.
Okay. So, having said that, what do you think we should start off with when it comes to an interview? What's one of the what's how do we kick off the interview?
All right. Let's first understand what kind of questions are asked in the interview. Before I get into that, again, I must tell you, interview is not only a question and answer sessions, but largely your success is dependent on how do you answer the questions.
Right.
Right? Okay. So the questions can be divided into three parts. Number one is behavioral and soft skill questions. Whichever interview you take, it will start with behavioral, soft skills, or situation based questions.
Okay.
Right? Fine. The second is general awareness. You should be aware of what is happening inside the country and in the world. And if you're reading newspaper regularly, you will be in a good place to answer these questions. And thirdly, and very importantly, there will be questions from your domain knowledge. Right? Like if you have done your specialization in marketing or HR management, questions will be there. If you have done your BTech in mechanical engineering, the questions will be from there. However, my extensive years of experience has taught me that the interview starts with behavioral questions and ends with behavioral questions. And if you do very well in behavioral questions, your possibility of success is very, very high.
I see. All right. So, since you said behavioral questions are the start and the beginning of the interview, I see that the most common behavioral question that we come across is introduce yourself. You know, we
Right?
have to explain all sorts of things about ourselves. And I see a lot of people struggling with the answer to this particular question because for them it may be, their family backgrounds. A lot of people think it's family backgrounds. And then for some, it just means their professional background. So, what all are included in such interview, in this particular question, you know?
You are absolutely right. A very good question. Remember, this question, introduce yourself, will be asked whether you are a fresher or an experienced CEO of the country. In any age group, this question is asked. Right? Now, can you tell me how some of your friends have answered this question? This I am doing. There's a purpose behind it. That's why I'm asking you. Yeah.
Okay, let's take the example of Saloni over here, who was unfortunately not able to crack the interview. And she told me that she started the interview with her introduction, wherein she said, myself, Saloni, and I have done my studies in commerce in class 12th, and then she moved on to her BBA, and then later on talked about her MBA. So that's what she started off with.
Right. So you see, it's very important to start on a right note. You should never say myself and then put your name over there.
Okay.
Note it down. Very important. You must say I am and then say your name, or my name is and then you should say name. Don't start on a wrong note.
All right.
Okay.
I've seen a lot of movies and a lot of people in real life as well who start off with myself.
No, that's wrong. Okay. So what is prevalent may not be necessarily true. Understand this.
Right.
And then when you share your educational qualification, you start with your latest qualification. For instance, in case you have done MBA, first talk about MBA, then graduation. In case you have done BBA or BTech, first talk about that and then come to your class 12th.
Okay.
Right. In case you have got 1 year of experience, you add in you say first or talk about your experience first and then talk about your educational qualification. After this point, you need to talk about your value added qualification, extracurricular activities, achievements, right? You need to talk about. In case you don't have value added qualification, you have not participated in any kind of extracurricular activity, skip this point.
Right.
याद आपको रखना है कि don't bluff the interviewer. You can't do that. Okay. If you do that, they will catch you. They have the experience to do that. So never ever do that. And the most interesting part starts after this point. You need to share your 3 strengths and 1 weakness.
Okay.
Now, the problem here is, and I want all my audience to note it, that we normally copy paste the strengths and weakness of successful candidates.
Right.
Okay? Or maybe there is a trainer in the college, he gives example of strengths and weakness, and the entire class copies it. That is a disaster thing.
Of course.
So what you need to do is to sit with a sheet of paper and pen and do a lot of introspection, and you will find out your own strength. That is the best way to do that, because that will sound authentic. I'll give you some example of strengths. Like, for instance, you can say that I am a good team player. I know how to maintain rapport with my team members and leaders. You can also say that I am a target-oriented person. I love to meet target under the given deadline. You can also say that I know how to persuade people. I connect with people very well. Now, again, here there is a challenge. I have seen large number of students, participants, candidates who are taking interview. They try to compress everything in one line. I'm a team player, target oriented, and a persuasive person. Don't do that. Talk about each point and explain them in one or two lines. Is that clear?
Yes.
Absolutely. And then we will go about the weakness. What do you think? Should we share our weakness?
I think, well, if I were in an interview, I would most likely not want to share my weakness because I don't want to, tell the interviewer, hey, मेरे अंदर कुछ तो कमी है, तुम इसके वजह से hire रुकना तो नहीं चाहिए मेरा.
Okay. Now the point here, you need to note here that you must share your weakness. But how do you share your weakness? That's important. Who is perfect in this world? I am not perfect. You are not perfect. The interviewer is not perfect. Right?
Right.
Are you understanding this?
Yes.
When nobody is perfect, it means that everybody has a weakness.
Right.
So you must share your weakness. Like for instance, let's say your problem is of getting impatient. Now, after stating your weakness, show them or tell the interviewer that what are you doing in order to overcome your weakness. So you can say that I'm reading books, I'm connecting with senior people or life coaches and trying to understand how to overcome my weakness. So when you tell the interviewer that what you are doing in order to overcome the weakness, you convey them that you are a proactive human being, and that is important.
एक तरह से मीठे मीठे तरीके से बताना है कि हाँ भाई है कमी
but what I am doing, you understand what is proactive, right. One who is taking the initiative, right?
Right.
Okay, and then you can talk about your hobby also. That's it.
Okay.
So these things now very important to understand. It's quite possible that when you start sharing your introduction and suddenly the interviewer may cut in between and ask you different question. And again he will come back to the strengths and weakness. So this is one question over which you should have a thorough command.
Okay, so this can be a part of the introduce yourself question,
Right.
but it can also be a standalone question.
Yes, and there can be variation also. What is interesting about yourself?
Okay.
Or describe yourself. When you the question is describe yourself, you need to only talk about strengths and weakness.
Okay.
Right.
So something interesting about yourself doesn't really mean कुछ भी बता दिया. We have to, really
If when you talk about your strengths, weakness, it will make sense. Right.
Okay. All right. So I would like to summarize for the benefit of our audience what we have discussed so far. So when it comes to introduce yourself, so we will first start with our names.
Yes.
Which is going to avoid myself. So we're going to
Right.
say, my name is Shefali.
Very good.
I am
Yes.
Shefali. And then we will move on to the latest experience that we have, latest qualification.
Yes.
So if it's a job that we have done in the past year, we go ahead with that, or MBA or BTech or BBA, whatever qualification that may be. And after that, we come back to the oldest qualification. That could be your class 12th, of course.
Yeah.
And after that, we go on to talk about our strengths and weakness.
Right.
And then if required, we also talk about hobbies. Okay. All right. I do have a question here though. So when you said that what is interesting about you, and you mentioned that we should also begin with our strengths and weaknesses, could we include our hobbies in that, because that's also something interesting about us?
But remember one thing, when you are talking about your hobby, you should know about it. Let's say you say that my hobby is to read books.
Right.
And I will ask you which book you are reading currently. And for example, you say The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari.
Right.
Then you should know about the book and you should know about the author.
Of course.
I remember a few years ago, there was a girl, she was taking interview in a very reputed institute. She was asked that what is her hobby. She said cooking. The professor dived deeper. He asked, what do you cook? And she said Maggie. So that kind of answer will not do.
Of course.
All right, you should have in-depth, right?
Absolutely. Okay. So, after all of this, after this entire discussion, what would be your message to our interview aspirants?
Okay, that's a very important question. Number one is practice, practice, and practice. Understand in the interview, a large number of questions are predictable.
Right.
Right? Like introduce yourself, describe yourself. Where do you see yourself after 10 years? What is your greatest success? What is your greatest failure? Why should we hire you? So on and so forth. It will go. Right? And also from your domain area, a very simple question. What's the difference between sales and marketing? I've seen 90% people not able to answer this.
Right.
Similarly, in HR, they will ask you, what about your Maslow theory? And they will again be not able to explain.
Right.
That's important. What's the difference between finance and accounts? Again, there is a problem. And I have even asked students who have done their BTech in computer engineering that how AI is changing the world, and they have not been able to answer it the way they should have answered.
Right.
So, good thing is that write a few questions, what you feel as a, maybe asked, and practice it, because many times you will not be able to answer it at the spur of the moment.
Of course. I mean, I have seen a lot of students.
Yeah.
I mean, at one point even I felt कि आता तो है, I know everything, but there is no way for me to express. So I think practice in such a case is extremely important.
Take a lot of mock interviews.
Right.
Till the time you don't get success. Now, I have seen students who don't do well in the interview. They run away from the mock interview. In colleges, their different education institutions. The students should take initiative more than the trainer or faculty.
Right.
That they should come and take mock interview. If you request your faculty or your trainer to take a mock interview, nobody will deny.
Of course.
This is what I can guarantee here.
Right.
Take 100% responsibility for your performance in interview. Do not blame your luck, educational system, or the interviewer. I've seen students coming and telling us, interviewer नहीं सही question नहीं पूछा. इस तरह के attitude से कोई फायदा नहीं होने वाला
Out of syllabus हो गया.
Yes, and remember, if your language is weak, practice and polish it. If you want to get into the corporate world, your English should be good.
Right.
That's important. And, of course, in the government jobs or civil services, you have the option to talk in Hindi also.
Right.
But in that case, your Hindi should be also good.
Right. Absolutely.
So that it's important. And give mock interviews to the right people, to your trainer, faculties. These days, there are many self-styled interviewers. Like suppose, okay, I will not get into that. So that is it. But choose the right people who have the experience of conducting interview, who have the experience of coaching in the interview. Don't go anybody जिसने interview सिर्फ दिया है नौकरी प्राप्त करने के लिए, उसके अलावा कोई experience नहीं है.
Right. I mean, there are a lot of people who have cracked interview once,
हाँ.
and then they think, हाँ, हमें तो आता है.
हमें
हमको सब
आता
कुछ
है.
बताएंगे.
So the interview is, this is one topic over which everybody feels that they can contribute.
Right.
But the fact is that everybody cannot contribute in the sense that they will coach the candidate in a right manner.
Absolutely. You're right. Absolutely. All right. It looks like we have come to the end of this particular session. And thank you so much, sir, for your amazing guidance over here. So, of course, we will be going forward with many more episodes. We will be coming with topics on soft skills and many more questions that are asked in interviews, predictable questions like you
Right.
mentioned. And of course, we will also talk about communication skills. We'll work on the grammar and sometimes even public speaking so that we can guide a lot of our aspirants here to really work on their language and polish it and make sure that whenever they are in front of an interviewer, they're completely confident. So rest assured, everyone, we will be coming with many more episodes for you with bunch of information that's going to really be helpful. And I'm really hopeful that we can get this forward to as many people as we possibly can. So thank you so much, sir, for being a part of this podcast, and I look forward to our next podcast session.
Thank you very much. I'm also looking forward to seeing you again.
Absolutely. Well, this brings to us an end, and thank you, everyone. See you next time.